Morning light filtered softly through the wide kitchen window, washing the white countertop and tiled walls with a warm and quiet glow. The house smelled faintly of coffee and toasted bread, something ordinary and comforting. Luke stood by the stove, pouring hot water into a mug, trying to begin his day with something steady. His plaid shirt sleeves were rolled up to his elbows, his posture relaxed but carrying a quiet kind of weight, responsibility, tiredness, and an inner patience that life had taught him through years of single fatherhood. Across from him, Emma leaned gently against the counter, her silk navy robe tied loosely at her waist. She held her own mug in both hands, a small smile resting naturally on her lips. Her expression was easy, thoughtful, and warm, like she was studying him, but in a way that didn't press or question. She had stopped by early that morning, just as she sometimes did, ever since their paths crossed months ago. Their lives weren't tangled, not officially, but they had begun to circle each other in the gentle, unspoken way two people sometimes did before either of them was ready to admit what it meant. "Rough night?" Emma asked, her voice soft so the house stayed quiet. Luke nodded, letting out a slow breath. "Yeah, Maddie couldn't sleep. Nightmares again." His daughter, only 6 years old, carried her own stories. Some too heavy for a child, but life rarely waited until someone was old enough to understand. Emma's eyes softened. "She's lucky to have you." Luke didn't look up at first. Compliments, genuine ones, always caught him off guard. "I'm trying," he said. And he was. Every day, every hour. For a moment the kitchen was silent, except for the quiet hum of the refrigerator and the distant birds outside. The kind of silence that didn't feel empty, just still. Then Emma took a slow breath, one that hinted she had something to say. "There's something I need to ask you," she began. Luke lifted his eyes to her. She wasn't nervous exactly, but something inside her was carefully placed, like she was choosing words one at a time. "I have a corporate gala tonight," she said. "Board members, investors, press, a lot of people who think they know everything about me." She paused. "They've been trying to push me into announcing an engagement. They think it makes me look more stable, more marketable." Her lips tightened just slightly, a sign of how exhausting that pressure was. Luke waited. Emma continued, "So I told them I was already seeing someone, that I'm taken." She gave a small exhale. "I didn't mean to lie. It just came out." Luke blinked slowly, processing. Emma met his eyes. "Luke, I need you to come with me. Just tonight. Just act like you're mine. Nothing more." The request hung in the air like a held breath. Luke looked down at his coffee. His fingers tightened around the mug. He had been a single father for long enough to know that temporary closeness, when you wanted something more, could feel like standing on the edge of something dangerous. Emma wasn't asking for love. She wasn't asking for a promise. She was asking for performance. "Emma," he said gently, "you know I care about you. That's not the problem." Her eyes flickered with something warm and cautious. "I know. It's Maddie," Luke said quietly. "I can't bring someone into her life unless I'm sure they're going to stay, even pretending. Kids don't really understand the difference." Emma held her mug a little closer to her chest. Her voice softened. "She doesn't have to be involved. I would never confuse her or make a promise I can't keep. This is separate. Just one evening." Luke looked at her then, not as the CEO who commanded boardrooms, or the woman everyone watched when she walked into a room, but as Emma, the person who stopped by in the mornings, who knew how he liked his coffee, who remembered Maddie's favorite bedtime song, who laughed at the small things, who looked tired sometimes when she thought no one saw, someone who, maybe, was lonely too. "What are they going to think when tonight ends?" he asked quietly. Emma's expression faltered. She didn't answer right away. The truth was, she didn't know. Maybe she didn't want to know. Finally, she said in a whisper almost too soft to hear, "I just don't want to go alone." That was the part that reached him. Luke set his mug down slowly. He stepped closer. Not too close, just enough to be real steady, grounded. Emma lifted her eyes to his. "If I go with you," he said, "I won't be acting." Emma's breath caught. A softness moved through her expression. Not fear, not shock, but something quieter. Something that looked like hope. "I don't have the space to pretend," Luke continued. "If I stand beside you, I'll mean it. I'll treat you like someone I care about. Because I do." Emma didn't speak. She didn't need to. The morning sunlight brightened the room, warm and gentle, as if acknowledging something had shifted, just slightly, just enough to matter. Luke gave a small, almost shy smile. "So if you want me there, I'll go. But not as someone playing a part." Emma's lips parted, barely moving. "Luke," she whispered, her voice full and quiet. "I didn't realize how much I needed to hear that." He nodded once. "I know. They didn't reach for each other. They didn't make promises. They just stood there, the air between them steady, calm, real." The gala hall later that evening was a world of shimmering lights, crisp suits, long gowns, crystal glasses, and conversations filled with polished words and invisible negotiations. The room glittered, but beneath the shine, everything felt sharp, like it had edges no one was supposed to touch. Emma walked into the room first, dressed in a deep navy evening gown that moved like water with each step. Her hair was done softly, elegantly, framing her face in a way that made her look almost untouchable. Luke walked beside her, not behind. Not as an accessory, but with quiet steadiness. People noticed immediately. Eyes turned, whispers followed, but neither of them reacted. Luke placed his hand gently on Emma's back, not claiming her, simply grounding her, and she breathed easier. The night moved slowly but not awkwardly. Emma introduced him simply, confidently, without over-explaining. Luke shook hands, made light conversation, never pushing, never performing. His calm presence softened the room around them. People who had once expected spectacle found themselves disarmed. During a pause near the balcony doors, Emma leaned closer, speaking softly. "You're doing more than you know." Luke looked at her, really looked. "So are you." They held each other's eyes for a beat longer than necessary. Hours later, when the night was finally quiet and the glamour had faded back into memory, they returned to Luke's house. The air was cooler, the world calmer. The house was dim but warm. Maddie was asleep. The kitchen looked the same as it had in the morning, steady and familiar. Emma set her shoes down and exhaled slowly. "That was harder than I expected," she admitted. Luke nodded. "You handled it," she looked up at him. Her expression was open, vulnerable in a way she rarely allowed. "I didn't feel alone," she said. Luke stepped closer. "You weren't." Silence settled between them again, but this time it carried something new, something understood. Emma's voice dropped to a whisper. "Luke, what happens now?" Luke didn't rush. He took the time to breathe, to think, to decide with his heart, not his fear. "Now," he said gently, "we take it slow. We don't make promises we can't keep. We show up one day at a time." Emma nodded. Her eyes shone, not with tears, but with relief. "Yes," she whispered. "One day at a time." Luke reached out, not to pull her in, but to offer his hand. Emma placed hers in his, not pretending, not performing, just real. The morning sun would come again. Coffee would brew. Maddie would laugh. Life would continue, steadily, quietly, beautifully, and this time neither of them would be facing it alone.